Excited? This is easy for you. Good morning. I get to take Justice to preschool today.
Are you going to upload this on the vlog?
Sure.
Okay.
Where your preschool is. Kind of sad a little bit. Oh hey. This is easy for you. That was my first time dropping Justice off for preschool. It's oddly sad. So yesterday on the to-do list vlog, I was a little conflicted about whether or not I should check fixing the Gaga ball pit off or not, and here's why. So this bad boy snapped off last night. I did make the fix that I was intending to make, but this was an impromptu fix that, well, it's not fixed. That needs to be fixed. That popped up last night. That's really easy to fix. It'll go by quick. Today is day 254, and we're jumping back into the book of Ezra, and we're finishing the book of Ezra by looking at the last 4 chapters, which are 7 through 10. At the beginning of chapter 7 is actually our first introduction to Ezra himself, who is detailed as a scribe that is well versed in the law of Moses and later serves as a priest, as we see in today's reading. The king of Persia at the time has much favor upon him, as well as the reestablishment of the Jewish temple and really Jewish tradition and religion and all that. Phrase that's really important that says the hand of God was upon Ezra, and he heads back to Jerusalem with a number of exiles, and they're detailed. And it's really interesting, Ezra, he also says that he was embarrassed to ask the king for an armed escort to have a safe passage back to Jerusalem. And so before they head back, him and the exiles, they spend time praying and fasting and asking God to deliver them and keep them safe on this journey as they head back to Jerusalem, which that's exactly what happens. But what is really interesting about today's reading are the final 2 chapters, chapter 9 and chapter 10, where we see at first Ezra, he's very sorrowful, he's mourning, he's weeping over the uncleanness among God's people in the fact that they had disobeyed God's command that we see from Deuteronomy chapter 7 to not intermarry with other people. And the reason why Ezra is so broken over this is because he knows the law. He's well versed in the law, and the people who had intermarried with these other people were disobeying God's law, were disobeying what God had communicated to his people through Moses in the law. Ezra and some of the leaders get together and they seek the Lord to pray on what to do, and essentially they gather all the people who had married someone that was a foreigner, and along even with their foreign children. Like this is tough, and tells them to put them away. Essentially, what is understood by that is that they, if it was a foreign wife and their foreign children, that the wife and her children would go back to whoever her father's house was and whatever people group that they were a part of. When we first think about this story, it's really tempting to start to dabble a little bit into the thought of why would God, or how could God allow such a horrible thing to happen for his people? Yes, they did this bad thing of intermarrying with other people when they shouldn't have, but he's basically forcing them to divorce their spouses and to send their children away because they're foreigners. Like, it's easy to kind of dabble into that. Like, how could God allow this to happen? Why would God tell his people to do this? And we have talked about this on the vlog before, but when we come to passages like this, the question is not how could God, but rather how could the people of Israel? When you go back to Deuteronomy 7, God made it very clear that they were meant to wipe out these people. Like, they disobeyed God in that command. So really it's not an issue of how could God, but rather it's an issue of how could his people. I think really the takeaway for us today is that we live based on what God's word says and not what necessarily seems like a good idea, and especially not what seems to be the norm in culture. The reason why Ezra was so broken over this was because he had God's word, he had God's standard in his mind about how to live and how to do things. And the people that had engaged in this sin, this disobedience of intermarrying with other people, they did not have that same standard. If they did have that same standard, they wouldn't have married these people. And we are facing that today in our culture, that there is always a temptation to have our standards or have our values determined by what is happening around us. But we as the people of God need to always be molded and shaped by the standards, by the ethics, if you will, of what we see in God's word. We're here picking up a gift for Vincent for his birthday. And you want to get your cousin for his birthday? While we were getting Vincent a birthday gift, we also got some Nerf bullets, because Justice has a Nerf gun, but we just don't have any ammo for it. And it's really powerful. So we're going to test it out on me to see exactly how painful this Nerf gun is. Daddy. Ow! Jeez.
Did it actually hurt?
Yes, that stings.
Do it again. Oh, you missed, Daddy.
Ah!
That sounds so painful.